What is going on, everyone? My name is Tim. I'm addicted to installing lightsabers. Anyway, let's jump right into it, right? So, thank you for stopping by the channel. I would like to talk about a very special project that I have completed. I actually completed this project a while ago. This was actually a month ago that I finished installing this, and it's been hard for me not to post progress pics of this build, not to post the final install, because this is, I wanted this to be a surprise for the recipient of this install, right? And the recipient of this install happens to be the very illustrious Benji from Nerfherder Customs, right? So Benji, historically for me, Benji, let me talk a little bit about Benji, right? Bonji. Benji, I actually, when I first entered the hobby, Benji's channel was the first channel that I came across. And his weathering videos specifically were some of his videos are the ones that I learned a lot from. A lot of his weathering techniques, specifically with like burnt sienna. Like the burnt sienna wash is what I learned from Benji. Using a burnt sienna wash on things, aluminum black, I learned from his technique. So fast forward, a couple of years, Benji is also the person who, introduced me to speeder bike hilts. I wasn't even aware that a speeder bike hilt was a thing. I was aware of Koran horn through the novels, but I wasn't even aware that speeder hilts were a thing until Benji told me about the Sons group on Facebook, and that made me aware of a whole other world of saber building, and that's my first. My first, not love, but like my first love other than like regular Canon lightsabers was speed, and still is speeder hilts, right? So I found it very fitting that Benji sent me one of his personal speeder hilts to install. And Benji gave me full reign. I believe he said, quote, "Do whatever you want with it." And me being me, I love hearing that. I love hearing that because I had full reign to do whatever I wanted, right? So obviously anyway, Benji has become one of my best friends. We've gone on a couple of trips now. Like, so after the filming of this video, after this video is dropped, we'll have gone on one of our trips. Benji, I talk to Benji almost on a daily basis. So he's become one of my good friends, and doing things like this for my friends is something that gives me a significant amount of joy, right? I'm just gonna say it like it is. Gift giving is my love language, guys. So doing something like this really means a lot to me. It means a lot that I can do this on a speeder hilt, which is really what I feel is what Benji's passion is. So this one was a lot of fun to do. I want to come into Fusion and talk about what I did. And then obviously we'll come up top, talk about the hilt, because it is a really, really awesome hilt that Benji built. And then we will put a blade in it. We'll do a demo, and then we'll get the hell out of here. We'll be on our way, right? So let's come into Fusion. All right. So here it is. A Tierfon super special hybrid. What am I calling this? A special, poignant, electric, eccentric. I don't know. Before I post this, I'm going to put enough adjectives that stand for speeder. It's going to spell out speeder when I do this post. Anyway, completely unnecessary, I know. But anyhow, this is a hybrid chassis. It is done in MJF nylon and, of course, a bunch of brass and sterling silver, right? So let's start with the main body of the chassis itself. Like I said, this is done in MJF nylon. Let's pull this battery cover off. I should have done this before the video started. Let's pull this battery cover off, right? So here is our battery tray, okay? So I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I've started using larger rectangular magnets in my builds for brass parts, right? So that is what I did with this build. Super, super strong magnets, right? So this battery cover is not going anywhere. As for the battery cover itself, just a bunch of simple greebly work and channels and vents on this one. This was printed in brass, polished brass. Then I went back and weathered this, okay? To Benji, I made an assumption here and I weathered all of these brass parts with the exception of this rotating crystal chamber plasma gate. I said this was in sterling silver. I did do this in brass as well, but I left this piece in polished brass just to give it a little bit of contrast, right? So anyhow, around back, there are some other brass greeblies, right? So I designed some vents that were done in brass, some other like vent looking things along the side of the Profi board that were done in brass. Obviously, here is our board. Underneath the board is where our kill switch lives. I just did some simple ridges and greebly work on the chassis itself. On each side of the chassis, there are red and blue LEDs. I believe we have talked about this. Benji and I have actually talked about this. So NeoPixels are cool. NeoPixel strips are great. But I think for me, I'm trying to move away from that, right? It's getting to the point for me where it just kind of looks a little silly, right? I want to get back to, where we've got, part internals of a lightsaber that look a little bit more functional, right? So I've just put some simple, even though like, who knows, like are rectangular LEDs functional? Not really, but I want to try and move a little bit away from using too many NeoPixel strips, right? So on each side, we've got just two simple rectangular LEDs in blue and red. These are their own blade in the config, okay? Up top, here is our crystal chamber, big honker of a crystal chamber, all solid brass. I did some like fin type work on this crystal chamber. This rear tube is where we bring our wires through, right? So the ones on the sides are just decorative. That one in the back serves as our conduit for all of our wires, okay? Just some simple like decorative greebly work on the side. I try to make these look like flathead screws. I don't know. I try to pull that off, right? In the middle, obviously, this crystal is just for decorative purposes only. In the final build, I do have a real quartz point in here, okay? And then obviously here we have our rotating crystal chamber. Let me see if I can get this to rotate in the model here. Let's see if we can. See if we can get that to, yeah, so here we go. Well, not really rotating on its axis, but if you can kind of see. Anyhow, so there's that. That's the rotating plasma gate that goes around the crystal. And obviously we've got a hole up here for the motor, right? So that's it, right? Not pictured, which, I probably should have this up in the model because it will give a little bit of a better representation of what I had to do. But the emitter for this hilt is a little bit shallow. So I did also have to create a custom PCB and switch holder. It's all in one, right? So there is a single red button rectangular switch for this build, and it almost sits just above this crystal chamber, right? So it is right here, and then just above that is the PCB. So I created like a PCB holder that snaps in place up on the crystal chamber, and the entire thing is one full assembly. So I bring all of my PCB, my emitter leads up in here, as well as my switch leads, slide the entire assembly into the hilt, and then I pull my leads out into the switch hole, wire up the switch, and then wire up the emitter in place, and the whole thing is done and good to go. Right. And that's it. I am really, really happy with the way this came out. I'm like, I know that I wanted to do something really special, and I wanted to get a rotating plasma gate in here because Benji like kind of mentioned it offhand when he sent this to me. He kind of said like, you know, do whatever you, this is my Benji voice, do whatever you want, man, and whatnot. Do whatever you want. Rotating plasma gate. He said something like that. And all I heard was rotating crystal chamber. All I heard was rotating crystal chamber. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put something really special in here. I wanted to do something really, really special for Benji. So that's what I did. Let's come up top. Okay, so there is no name for this. This is Benji's hilt. This is just Benji's beautiful speeder hilt that he made. I don't know where these parts came from. I don't know where any of these parts came from. And that's what I love about speeder hilts. That's what I love about Benji's builds. A lot of his stuff is just like really, really rarely sourced. I mean, he probably uses some Saber Forge stuff, but I don't know where any of this stuff came from. I don't know where this grip came from. This might be a freaking tennis racket grip hilt or tennis racket grip. It's a really, really awesome feeling grip too, by the way. But this is just such an awesome hilt, right? And the emitter, by the way, that like, oh God, I always forget the name of the emitter here. This oh man. Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. This emitter, this is kind of like a signature Benji emitter. I love that emitter. So just an awesome, great hilt. And of course, you know, Benji loves 28 millimeter grips. So there was plenty of room to play around with on this one, right? So yeah, great hilt. Let's talk about how to use it. Show us the inside, Tim. So grip comes off. Here is the chassis. All of the brass parts have been weathered. I took a liberty and assumed that's what Benji would want, okay? So here's our battery tray. I love using those magnets. They're so strong. I mean, I love that. Like, it's just so satisfying to feel that brass part just kind of click into place, right? So here's our battery cover, obviously. Let's take that off. We have a battery in here. Oops. Yeah, I'll just leave it in there. I'm gonna hit the kill switch though. Here are those extra brass accents. Those are just CA glued into place. I weathered them and then just glued them, right? Profi board is here. It does slide up underneath that lip. So Benji, if you want to get at your USB or your SD card, you can kind of slide it out if you want. I do suggest using a 90-degree USB connector if you want to do a new config. And you can just kind of slide that SD card out with a pair of tweezers if you want, or you can just kind of pop the whole board out if you want, right? And then around the other side, there is that crystal chamber. Okay? So we do have a battery in already. Let's hit that kill switch. There is that lit crystal in that crystal chamber. Single button Profi setup. There are those two rectangular LEDs. That's probably going to get washed out on camera. And there is that crystal chamber. Rotating plasma gate around that crystal chamber. That rotating plasma gate is huge, by the way. I probably could have gone a little bit smaller with that, but it is massive. Let's see what else we put on here.
You're in fire.
All right. So that's it. Once you get your battery in, you are good to go. Twist to activate, twist to deactivate has been enabled on this one. And man, does this sound good. Okay. So, one thing I'm forgetting to mention, right? To Benji, I have added, so I found this in my box of Greeblies. I'm sure I've got this from either a Canon Y, a flash gun assembly, or one of my old camera parts. This is a chrome-plated brass knurled thumb screw. I have tapped and drilled a hole, so that now serves as your blade retention, okay? So that, makes it a lot easier so I didn't have to like drill a hole for like a set screw, right? I thought that looked a lot better. So that's another liberty I took. I hope you're okay with. Okay. Another thing that I'm completely neglecting to mention. So two of Benji's friends have had a part to play in this build. The emitter has a 7/8 inch blade holder insert that was done by Jeremy over at Solo Sabers, right? So that is how that's how we are able to use this, right? This is now a 7/8 inch blade holder. So Jeremy did that and sent it to me, and then I put it in there, and that's how we have a blade holder, right? So a lot of people had a part to play in this build, and that's it. Blade plug is mine. Sorry, I'm keeping that. Let's come down to the bottom. I'm gonna go back to Son of Corellia because that is one of Benji's. I believe Benji worked on that with Mr. Jesse from Kyrie. Good sounding hilt. All right, let's put a blade in it. So, look at me, I'm prepared again. 7/8 inch blade holder, nice, snug, 7/8 inch blade holder. So, like I said, that knurled thumb screw is your blade retention. So once you get your blade in, just kind of tighten that down, and you are good to go. So I think I put a bunch of speeder-related fonts on here. I think I have to have it. Never remember Profi navigation single button. Let's see. Oh, come on.
You're in fire.
So it's got, the blade's got to be parallel. So long press and release to scroll through your fonts. I did set this up with dual phase, but I'm not quite sure how to access dual phase with single button, unfortunately. Let's see what else we put on here.
Welcome to the build.
That is actually one of my fonts. And I've modified to be a Expanse themed font. Right, so Expanse fans will recognize that sound. Let's see what else we put on here.
Dissonance.
This is Dissonance from K-Sith, one of our buddies. Interesting blade style I put on there. I don't like that. I'll probably change it. Let's see what else we put on here.
Peace is a lie.
I put a lot of fonts on here, Benji. I'm not going to go through all of them. One more. Let's do one more.
Rock.
So I put a bunch of our friends, just put a bunch of our friends, our Fontsmith friends font on here. So a lot of K-Sith, a lot of Kyberphonic on here. And obviously, you know, some of our favorite speeder fonts are on this one. So that's it. That is the custom Benji speeder bike grip that I've installed with a hybrid Tierfon chassis. So this one was a lot of fun. Like I said, in all seriousness, doing stuff like this for my friends is something that I really get a lot of joy out of doing. It's a lot of fun for me. I'm very grateful. I've said this time and time again. I'm very grateful to have had met some awesome people in this community and have gained some great friends in the process, right? So this has been a pleasure to do for you, Benji. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoy Ligma. Hope you enjoy Ligma, and I hope you enjoy Ds, because Ds are big. So I hope you enjoy, Benji. This was a lot of fun doing, And I'm really looking forward. I am presenting this to Benji during our meetup this coming weekend at the Dallas Fan Expo. So I'm happy that we're going to be chilling this weekend and I'm going to be able to give this one to Benji. So anyhow, thank you for watching, everybody. If anyone has any questions about this particular build, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.